So NBA executives around the league believe that Zion Williamson's trade value is limited to bad contracts and no draft picks. Well, if that's the case, I got the perfect contract for you. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, Heat Nation, as we continue our push for 7,000 subscribers. Now that we got that good stuff out the way, hit the intro. Happy Thursday, Heat Nation! Your boy Ernest here, back with another Miami Heat Talk video. Hope everyone's having a great day so far. Now, on to today's episode, you guys. We are talking about Zion Williamson again, potentially coming to the Miami Heat. And the reason why that we're talking about this, you guys, is because there was a post that came out yesterday from Fear the Brown, and it was reported by several other reporters as well, even local reporters in New Orleans, where they're saying that right now Zion Williamson's trade value is limited to bad contracts and no draft picks. There's a few reasons why. Now, I did an episode a few days ago about Zion Williamson, the potential of trading for either Zion or Trey Murphy. And from the comments on that video, a lot of you were not open in trading for Zion. So I know a lot of people, when they hear this episode, they're probably going to be rolling their eyes or immediately saying no. But I want to mention some things where I think this might be beneficial. Now, look, I understand the negative. So let's start with that. I did mention this when I did my episode a few days ago, but I'll say it here again. The problem with Zion Williamson is not performance. When he's on the court, he is one of the most dominating players today. He's been with the New Orleans Pelicans now for 5 seasons. In those 5 seasons, his worst year was his first year, averaging 22.5 points a game. Best year was his second and third season, averaging 27, 26 points a game, respectively. This past season, he averaged 25.5 points, 7.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, almost a block, 1.2 steals. So the problem is not Zion's play. It's the lack of play. It's the fact that he's only cracked 70 games played once in his career. And 3 times in his career, 3 seasons, he played 24, 29, and 30 games. 30 games this past season. He's also had a very bad weight issue. There is a circular stigma with Zion. He gets in great shape in the offseason, posts all these videos about him eating right, plays in the season, dominates, gets injured, and then gets fat. It's a revolving cycle with Zion Williamson. Now, also, you have the rape allegations that are coming out with Zion. Now, look, I'll be honest here, guys. I don't really talk about that type of stuff on this channel. I'm not really focused on stuff like that. I do feel bad for the situation. I do pray for everyone that's involved. And if this is true, then that dude needs to be ashamed of himself. But what we're talking about here is the potential fit of Zion with the Heat. But the reason why I mention that is because when teams are trying to trade for a player, they're not looking for BS drama. That is what that is. So there's a lot of negatives with Zion, but there's a lot of positives. He's 24 years old. On the floor, he's one of the best players in the NBA, and he still has not hit his prime yet. He is also on a very friendly contract. He has 3 more years left in his contract. Most expensive would be the final season, making about $43 million. So he's averaging around $38 to $43 million for the next 3 seasons per year. That's not whopping numbers like Jimmy Butler wanted $60 million a year. So even though it's a lot of money, it's still not as bad as some of these other contracts like Bradley Beal, Dame Lillard, just to name a few. So right now, the Miami Heat, if they look to trade for Zion, if they're able to take a bad contract, well, then the Miami Heat can offer something that's not technically bad, but that might fit New Orleans' favoritism in a way. Now, here's the thing. Right now, the New Orleans Pelicans, you guys, in salary are making $170 million in the books right now. That's how much they're playing to their current roster. Zion Williamson this year, $39 million, $42 for 2027 and $44 for 2028. Now, Since he's making $39.4 million, and both the Miami Heat and the New Orleans Pelicans are under the first apron line, they have a lot of flexibility. New Orleans can take back more money. Miami can take back more money as well. So this is where you play with the contracts. And when you look at New Orleans' salary, DeJounte Murray, who tore his Achilles, CJ McCollum, who's going to be on the last year of his contract. Then you have a lot of favorable contracts after that. They're looking to shed salary and rebuild. So trading Zion Williamson, what they're going to look for in return, they're going to try to get expiring contracts, maybe a young asset, maybe a draft pick. Per this report, I don't think the Heat are going to offer a draft pick, but if they could, it can put them in the front running. If you can give a package of Andrew Wiggins, throw in like maybe a Nikola Jovic or a Pelle Larsson, and a future first-round draft pick or maybe even a pick swap, that might be enough to get it done. You guys have to understand, when it comes to the new collective bargaining agreement, these trades where you send 5 first-round draft picks, kind of like the Rudy Gobert trade, and you're sending multiple players, that's not really what you can do anymore. There's the first, the second apron line. It really hampers teams. So they're looking for trade for flexibility to shed salary relief. That's what a lot of these teams are doing. If they're not going to contend for a championship, try to clean out your books so you're not in the aprons line. Now, I'm going to read a report that came out by Shamit Dua. He is a reporter with New Orleans, with the Pelicans. So this is not like ESPN. This is a reporter that's right there with the New Orleans Pelicans. He said multiple executives around the league believe that Zion Williamson's trade value will be limited. There seems to be this general idea of, like you kind of saw it with the Derrick Rose and Kristaps Porzingis, that like there will be teams that do not necessarily care about the reputation provided, that they have enough general information to know that this is going to get settled out of court and allegations won't stick. There will be teams who do not care, but those will be teams who do not care need to be sufficiently desperate, 1 and 2, they're not going to give you anything of value. You're going to get really bad contracts and likely no picks. But if you get a pick, it's a late pick. So an example, and this is where it gets interesting. An example would be Andrew Wiggins and Duncan Robinson for Zion Williamson and some small salary just to kind of make it even. While there is no doubt about Williamson's talent, injury have taken a toll, and many seem to prefer not to deal with it. So if the Miami Heat are able to get away with an Andrew Wiggins, Duncan Robinson, and a future first-round draft pick for Zion, I'd be good with that. If you're able to trade Terry Rozier, add Rozier, Wiggins, draft pick, I'd be willing to do that too. I understand that Rozier and Duncan Robinson are not looked at as high values, but they're on the final year of their contracts. Right there, that's value. Because with players like that, when you trade for them, you can move them to another team or you can even buy them out. It's going to be an interesting offseason with a lot of players that become available. But I will say this about Zion, and I know people are going to talk about the weight issue thing. The Miami Heat, you guys, have had a lot of players that have come on this team with weight issues, and they've been able to help them fix it. Shaquille O'Neal, Dion Waiters, James Johnson are just some that come to mind. Where they came here out of shape, they bought into the culture, they bought into the system, and they got in the best shape of their lives and had some of their best seasons. If Zion comes to Miami and Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, they're able to whip him into shape, and he's playing alongside Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Kel'el Ware, that could be dangerous. So Heat Nation, I want to hear from you. Do you think if we're able to trade just an Andrew Wiggins, Duncan Robinson, or Andrew Wiggins, Terry Rozier, and a future first-round pick, would you be willing to do the trade? I get it. If it's a monster deal where they're asking for Wiggins, Kel'el Ware, Jaime Jaquez, multiple first-round draft picks, I'm hanging up the phone. You're trying to get a player to match with these guys and not try to give up so much value. That's why I like Zion Williamson and Kevin Durant, because you could potentially do that and still keep this team afloat. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, because we're pushing to 7,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for the support. And until next time, your boy Ernest out. And that is enough said.